Hey guys, I'm Jamie. I'm the owner of One String to Rule Them All, and today I'm here to show you how to make the blank in the hoop mini backpack that I will be releasing soon. For this design, you can use vinyl on the outside if you want, and I would suggest cotton that you've interfaced for the interior, or I'm using not waterproof canvas, but like a thinner canvas, and I'll show you that in a second. There's the thing I love about this design is there's so many different ways that you can make it. So you can kind of just go with what you feel like. I This is actually my second attempt at the tutorial. My 6-year-old was very happy to have a oopsie backpack that I goofed on last time. Something I learned: don't be stingy with your fabric. I didn't want to waste any of my pretty custom fabric, so I cut my pieces a little too small, and that's not good because you want to have lots on the outside of your seams, otherwise it won't hold together. So you'll want to follow the cut instructions in the pattern. I've got 2 pieces for the front, one for the top piece, one for the bottom piece. And then this big piece is for the back, and I'm making the 8x12 size on my Topaz 50. That's the biggest hoop size I have. But the pattern does go up to 9x14, I believe. And I have a couple of testers doing that one for me. Like I said, I'm using canvas. This is not waterproof canvas. It's just, I think it's like 10-ounce canvas. I forget exactly what size. I got this at Nick of Time Textiles. They have some pretty good deals on canvas most of the time. So I've got 2 pieces cut the same size as the front 2 pieces, and a piece cut the same size as the exterior piece that I showed you. You're gonna want number 3 or number 5 zipper. I like to use zipper tape just because you can customize lots of different ways. And if you're using zipper tape, you need a zipper pull. I got this little guy from New Moon Stitches. Even though it's Stitch and Yoda on my fabric, Baby Yoda, my daughter wanted Baby Yoda because he's her favorite. For the hardware, you can also do based on your preference. The pattern calls for anywhere between 1/2 inch to 1 inch D-rings. I have 3/4 inch. So I have 2 3/4 inch D-rings, and then for the top connector piece, I'm going to be using this O-ring. Just personal preference. If you want to use D-rings on all of them, you can. These 3/4 inch ones are kind of small, and I'm going to be making my own strap. For the strap, back to the connectors, you'll need to cut some little pieces of vinyl for the connectors. I would suggest using a sturdy vinyl. I have, this is from Glitterbug Fairy. It's just her matte vinyl. It's pretty sturdy. I'm going to be using this to make my strap. You don't have to make your own strap if you don't want to, or if your bag's just going to be decorative, you could use fold over elastic, because if no one's going to be wearing it, then it doesn't need to be super sturdy. But for my strap, I have 2 little swivel clasps. The strap will go through this part, and then it will clip onto the D-ring on the bottom. And then I think I'm probably going to make it adjustable because my 6-year-olds are growing like crazy right now. So I want her to be able to wear it for a while. But I will say the 8x12 size is seriously the perfect mini backpack size for my 6-year-olds. The 7x12 or the 6x10 might be a good toddler size. The 9x14 could probably work for like a mini adult backpack. There's not a ton of space in the backpack, but it is fully lined, and it does have a zipper that you can access the inside, so it is functional. So really, you could use it for anything. toddlers to carry their backpack or their snacks with their favorite toy maybe, or, you know, just lots of different things, a book to read in the car. Also, another option if you don't want to make your own strap, I have these pre-made straps from New Moon Stitches. I think she sells them for like $3.25 a piece, $3.50 a piece. They're really not bad, and they are adjustable. I used this on the other backpack, and I'll make sure to show a video of that one, and it fits perfectly on my daughter. So I think that is all of your materials that you need, if I'm not mistaken. So the first step that you're going to want to do, there's 2 stitch files that come with this pattern. The first stitch file you want to run is the zipper cover, and make sure that if you bought multiple sizes, make sure that you have the right size for the size of the backpack that you're going to use, because they are all different sizes and they have to line up on the backpack. So what you're going to do is hoop some tearaway stabilizer and run step 1 on the zipper cover, and then I'll come back and show you. And you're going to want matching vinyl. I'm just going to use the same blue everywhere. I didn't have lime green for Baby Yoda, so we're doing blue. So I'm just going to grab some blue vinyl, and I'll come back and show you how to do that zipper cover. Here's my zipper cover placement line, and this step is super easy. The whole stitch out has 2 steps, so it'll take you like 10 seconds. I've got my blue vinyl cut out. I'm just going to make sure that it's covering all of my placement lines there. You are not putting anything on the back. It's not going to have a backing, because what's going to happen is when you cut it out, you're going to put it on top of the front exterior of the bag, so you actually won't see any of the back anywhere in your design. It'll all be completely covered. So you're going to run step 2, which will tack down that vinyl and do a rectangle on the inside where you're going to cut it out for the zipper. And I'll show you where to cut that too, so that you don't cut it too small. Here's the finished zipper cover. I already trimmed up all of my loose threads. And like I said, nothing on the back except stabilizer. So what we're going to do is, you probably want to cut about 1/4 inch around the outside edge. That way, in case you don't line it up properly, or you know, your fabric is really thick or something, it doesn't miss the zipper cover when it stitches it in place. And then same thing on the inside. And it's okay to cut less away on the inside and then have to trim it up later. Obviously, if you cut too much away and then you oopsie later, you have to redo the whole thing, and that, trust me, I already had to do that, and it was not fun. I had to seam rip the whole thing off the front of the backpack. Not fun. So 1/4 inch around the outside edge, and then 1/4 inch around the inside of this rectangle here. And you can rip off the stabilizer if you want or not, up to you. I'm going to, just to keep it clean. And then once that is done, you're going to load some more tearaway stabilizer into whatever size hoop you're making your bag in, and run step 1 of the backpack. That will be the placement line for the whole exterior, and then I'll come back and tell you what to do next. I just finished up my zipper cover. Now, I should have mentioned this is completely optional. If you don't want a zipper cover, it still looks really cute without the cover on it. You'll just have the seams on either side of the zipper, and then the zipper will be exposed. I just thought this was a cute little add-on. Kind of makes it more unique. You can use all sorts of different vinyls on it. So as you can tell, I cut, and I just eyeballed it. I tried to cut like 1/4 inch around those seams, and then I cut the center out there so that the zipper will be in the middle, and then the outside part will just kind of cover up those seams and just make it look nice. And while I was doing that, I went ahead and ran the first two steps of the bag. So you've got your outside placement stitch, so that's how big the whole bag is going to be. And then these two lines are your zipper placement lines. So what I'm going to do is I have my zipper tape. And I think I got this zipper tape from Wizardry Stitchery a while ago. I don't even remember how long ago. But I'm going to cut it pretty much like edge to edge of my hoop. That way you've got some wiggle room and you've got room to slide your zipper pull over. If you're using like pre-made number 3 zippers, you don't have to worry about that. Just make sure that your zipper head is off to the side so that it doesn't get caught while we do most of the stitching over the next couple parts. So I'm going to tape my zipper tape between those two lines, and I'll for the number 5 I'm going to put my zipper pull on now so that I don't have to try to do it in the hoop later. And then I will run step 3, which is the tack down for the zipper. Sorry, I had a little brain fart there. So it's going to tack down the zipper, which is why you want the zipper pull off to the side. I would probably even tape your zipper pull on the side of the hoop so that it doesn't get caught up. So run step 3, tack down that zipper, and then come back and we'll talk about the next step. I have my zipper tacked down now. Those 2 green lines there. I would suggest trimming all of your jump stitches or loose threads or, you know, whatever random things are attached, because as we're attaching the fabric pieces, you could have loose strands stuck, making it hard to trim. Or if you're like me, I don't like thinking of all the loose threads in there that might pop out at some point. So front and back are all cleaned up. The next step is we're going to be using the zipper tack down lines for our fabric placement lines as well. So step 4, yeah, we're on step 4. It looks the same as the last line, but actually what we're doing is we're tacking down the top part of your fabric. So I have one of the small pieces of my exterior and one of the small pieces of my interior. And what I'm going to do, since the fabric is going to be like this on the bag, since we're doing the top, I'll try to do this one-handed. You want to flip it down so it's going to be covering your zipper and covering that top zipper tack down. I would say at least 1/4 inch, like maybe line the top of your fabric up with the top of the zipper so that you can make sure it's completely covering that line. Because what's going to happen is once we stitch that down, we're going to flip it up like this, and then we're going to top stitch over that area. So do this on the front and the back. So you're going to take one of your lining pieces and do the same thing. Now this canvas doesn't really have a right or wrong side, so I'm just gonna you're looking at this second line. That first line was just the zipper placement, the second line was the tack down. So you want it to be just above that zipper placement line there, so that it's completely covering that second line by a good 1/4 inch. So tape those down, run step 4, and then I'll come back and show you how to flip it up and stitch it down around the top. Here's what that step looks like. It tacked down the top of that fabric and on the back too. So now we're gonna flip it up, and it's covering that top placement line for the bag really well. You want to make sure that you've got plenty of room to play with. I've probably got like almost an inch of fabric up there on top. So you're just gonna finger press this edge here, and then you're gonna tape down. I just do like one piece at the top, to make sure that it doesn't move while you're stitching the next step, because step 5 is going to go all the way around and it's going to do a top stitch right here, and then it's going to do the same on the back. So you want to flip your back piece up at the same time and make sure that's covering everything really well, and tape that back piece down really well too, so it doesn't shift around while you're stitching. So flip both pieces up and tape, and then we're going to top stitch for step 5. Here is that step finished. You can see it top stitched around the top part, and it, you know, tacked the fabric down so that top part is in place, and it did it on the back too. So the next step, step 6, is going to do the opposite on the bottom. So you want to grab your other small piece of exterior and your other small piece of the lining. And what we're gonna do is the same thing. So here's the position it's gonna be when it stitches the next step. So for this step, we're flipping it up, so it is upside down and face down, and we're gonna meet the top edge of that fabric with the bottom of the zipper and tape it in place. And then you're going to do the exact same thing on the back side. Again, my canvas doesn't have a side, but you would do the same exact thing. So it's supposed to sit like this. You're going to flip it up and meet it with that bottom placement line so that that second line is covered, and then tape that in place. And you're going to run step 6 that will tack it down, and then we'll come back and do the same thing that we did for the top piece. All right, I just finished stitching step 6. So the front and back bottom pieces are upside down and they look like they're on the wrong side of the bag, but they're not. So we're gonna flip this down and finger press on the top there also, and then you're gonna tape it down to the bottom. And as you can see, I've got like an inch of fabric down there. That's perfect. You don't want it to be too close to the edge, because then it will make it really hard to do the last couple steps. So I'm going to tape this in place, run step 7, which is going to do the outline and top stitch that seam down, and then I'll come back and show you what to do next. So just make sure you got the front and back taped down, because it's going to run at the same time. Here's step 7. It top stitched around the bottom fabric and tacked it down, same on the back. And again, I am cleaning up tape and strings and loose stitches and everything in between steps, so I don't have to try to find it in between all the fabric later. So the next part is completely optional. This is the part where you're going to use that zipper cover if you want it. If you don't, I mean, that looks adorable just the way it is. So the zipper cover just goes over the zipper like this. It just kind of covers up those seams a little bit, just kind of gives it a nice little embellishment. Again, totally up to you if you want to do that or not. I'm going to, just so I can show you how to do it. So step 8 that we're on right now is going to do the placement stitch for the zipper cover. And then when that is all stitched out, I'll come back and show you how to place it on and everything. Make sure that your zipper head is still out of the way for this part. After this, that's when we're going to move it. But right now, just leave them on the side there. Kind of hard to see there, but you can kind of see the lines here. And they go down across the zipper and then down here. That is the placement for your zipper cover if you're doing it. Now, I already did this off camera, but it does stitch over the zipper. So I went ahead and seam ripped the 2 stitches that were just right there, because this is just a placement stitch, so you don't really need it to stay complete and not unravel. It's not gonna be a big deal. So now is the time. I'm gonna untape my little grow goo here. See if I can do this one-handed. Okay, I'm gonna slide him about halfway in, like that. Just get him out of the edge there. And I do have a little clip just holding the end of my zipper tape together. That was partly to keep him from sliding off and partly just so it's not flopping all over the place. So the zipper cover placement stitches should line up pretty perfectly with the outside seam here. So you want to line it up to where your zipper is in the middle like that, and try to find those placement lines underneath. I know it's crooked, I'm trying to do everything backwards. Find those placement lines and try to match up that top seam the best that you can. And when I get that all taped down, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how to stitch this on, because it is going to involve moving your zipper head around a little bit, because once it gets to the inside box, it's going to get pretty close to your zipper, and you're going to want to move it around. I did not program any stops in, so you are going to have to pause your machine as you go. This is one of the parts where you really don't want to stop watching your machine. So I'm going to tape that down and line it up the best I can, and then I'll come back and show you how to stitch it down without knotting. I'm going to try to hold the iPad while I'm stitching this so that you can watch me as I'm moving the zipper head around. So it's going to start in the corner here, and it's going to stitch around the edge first. So when it's stitching the top part, I'm going to have my zipper head down. When it's stitching the bottom part, I'm just going to flip it up. If you want to pause your machine to move that, that's fine. I normally just wait until my needle is pretty far out of the way, and then I just kind of do it quick. And then it is all one color stop, so it's going to go straight from finishing here over to this side, and it's going to start stitching around the rectangle. This is the part you're going to have to be really careful with, because you are going to have to move your zipper head a couple of times. So since it's starting over here, I'm going to make sure my zipper is most of the way open like that, so that I don't have to move it until it's close to the end of the top. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing the outside one now, and he is down. Okay, I'm gonna pause it because my machine decided to shred the. For some reason, my machine does not like stitching over that tape. So I'm gonna try again. Bobbin. Pausing again. I changed my bobbin. I guess this is a good stopping point, because now it's going to come back and meet that end and finish stitching it down, and it's going to jump straight over here and start on the rectangle. So my zipper foot, or my embroidery foot thing, whatever you want to call it, it comes up high enough that it will not catch my zipper. If yours does not, I would suggest pausing it when it gets here, lifting your foot, and then advancing the stitch forward until it jumps over here. That way you're not catching your zipper head on your machine. So mine should be good, so I'm just going to let it run. weird. Hold on. I think I might have messed up the... This will be fixed in the final copy. I had to adjust something this morning, and I guess I forgot to move the stitch steps. So this is the correct step. So normally it would just jump straight over my zipper and go straight over here and start stitching. So this is where it's gonna start now. Okay, I'm gonna pause it there, and I'm going to slide this guy, if I can do this one-handed here, slide him as far over as I can. There we go. So he's all the way to the end, so I can finish stitching the rest of the rectangle over here. Does not like that thread for some reason. So let me clean that up. Let's try that again. Pause it right there and slide my zipper pull back to the other side. And you can tell I did not line my zipper cover up perfectly, but that, I mean, it's really okay. I can always go in and seam rip some of the lines out if I really want to, but we'll see how it looks when it's all done. It might actually kind of look cute with the two lines. Okay, so that's done now. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up this area and just take a look at it and decide if I want to remove any of those lines. That's why I was saying it's really important to try to line up the placement lines the best you can, but it is kind of tricky, so you know, it's not gonna be perfect. It wasn't perfect on my first try either, because this is my second try, but I mean, it's on, it's good. So we'll take a look at it and see how it goes. Here's my finished zipper cover. I did go ahead and seam rip some of that out. You can still see the holes there, but the nice thing about vinyl is if you go over it with like a hair dryer or something like that, sometimes it will help kind of melt the plastic back together, I guess. I'll deal with that later. So we can move on, but so the zipper cover is done if you chose to do that. The next step is going to be the connector placement steps. So it's gonna make a line up here and then one in each corner. You don't have to trim the fabric where those are gonna be, just let it stitch on top of the fabric. I would go ahead and leave your zipper pull like halfway open now so that you don't get it caught in the edges, because we are going to start finishing it up. I think we've only got a couple steps left. So go ahead and run excuse me, those connector placement lines, and I will show you how to do your connectors. All right, I have, they're really hard to see. There's one line right there below his neck. There's another line right here under his foot, and the third line is right here. What you're gonna do is you need your connectors and your hardware. So I'm getting my D-rings and my O-ring that I'm going to use. So I've got 2 3/4 inch D-rings, and then this is a 1 inch O-ring. I got all of these at New Moon Stitches. Since I'm using 3/4 inch hardware, what I did was I cut 3 3/4 inch wide by 2 inch long strips of matching vinyl. And again, depending on what hardware you're using, so like if it's a 1/2 inch D-ring, you want to cut a 1/2 inch by 2 inch. If it's a 1 inch, you want to do 1 inch by 2 inch. And what you're going to do is, so I'm putting my O-ring on the top. I'm just going to string it on there. It's folded in half, and I've got the ends pinched together. I like to put my little clip on the end just to hold it in place. And I'm going to do it with both D-rings as well. Now, the trick with hardware, if you're not very familiar with in the hoop bags, you would think that you would put the hardware outside the bag, but it has to be the opposite, because when we put the backing on, it's going to make it so that you flip it. So if you have the hardware on the outside of the bag, it's going to be on the inside of the bag when you flip it. So we got to do the opposite. So I've got my O-ring. I'm going to tape in place like this, and I'm going to tape my O-ring to the fabric so it doesn't move around while I'm stitching. And then your bottom connectors, if you want to put them straight up, you can. Just make sure that that D-ring is away from the edge line, because your machine foot is going to be sewing over that line a couple of times. I'm actually going to put mine in at a little bit of an angle like that. You just want to make sure it's covering the tack down that you, or the placement line that you just made. That way it catches it, and then it will catch it in the bottom of the bag too, because the placement line is below the bottom of the bag. So go ahead and tape those in place and run the next step, and that will tack them down. And then we're almost done. We just have to put on the backing and the lining. All right, I've got the connectors on. I still have the hardware taped in place, because the next step is putting on the exterior backing. So you need the big piece for this one. And what you're going to do is put, and it's important right now to make sure that your zipper is partly open. I've got mine like, it's like 2/3 of the way open. You're going to flip it upside down and make sure that it's covering all of that stitching that you did, the placement stitching. So the top line here and the bottom line. So it is print side facing the right way, but it's face down, if that makes sense. I'm trying to show you here. So it's not upside down or anything. So we're only doing the line or the backing right now, not the lining. So you're not doing anything to the back. Just this piece. I would tape like the top and the bottom down and run the next step, and then there's only one more step in the hoop. We're almost done. So I broke a needle, and I think my thread broke 6 times while I was stitching this. My machine does not like me today. But here is that final tack down for the exterior. My fabric is right sides together, right direction. So that is the back of the backpack. So now we're going to flip it over and attach the lining back. So this Again, mine doesn't have a directionality necessarily, because it's canvas, so I didn't even need to interface it because it's nice and sturdy on its own. For this step, you want to put right sides together. And you want to make sure that it's covering all of and this is where I messed up the first time. I did not give myself enough wiggle room because the bottom, I've probably got, yeah, at least an inch there. The bottom, you're going to cut like a slot that you're going to tuck back up inside the bag once it's done, so that you have a way to turn it, because obviously we're covering, the zipper is completely covered. There's no way to access the zipper to turn it right side out this way. So you want, for the lining, right side together if you have fabric that's interfaced or you're doing a fun lining. I just chose a basic one because pretty much this is going to my 6-year-old and she doesn't care. So I just chose pink canvas because she likes pink. So right sides together, cover all of your placement lines. Make sure you've got yourself, I'd say at least 3/4 of an inch to an inch of fabric below that bottom line. And what this is going to do is it's going to start stitching like a little line in the corner, going to go all the way up and around, and then it's going to do a little bit here. So it is not going to close this. The lining we will have to close on our own. The backing is already closed completely. So I'm going to tape that and run, I believe this is the last step on the machine. And then I will come back and show you how to cut it out and flip it and do the strap and all that good stuff. All right, I've got that final step done. So this is the front of your hoop, but the exterior back of the bag. And then I've got the exterior or the back lining, and it did leave a nice gap down there for us to turn it. So now to cut it out, find my scissors here. You want to come in at an angle, kind of like that. Sorry, I'm trying to hold it up and cut at the same time. So you're gonna cut like an angle there. This canvas is a little thicker than I expected. There we go. So the angle, and then you're going to cut like an 1/8 to 1/4 inch all the way around the bag, and then you're going to angle in on this side too. Maybe. There we go. So I've got both sides angled there. I'm going to cut all the way around the outside, and then I'll show you how to flip it. I forgot to mention, I typically don't cut my zipper as close to the edge. You also want to make sure that you're leaving enough space when you get to those connectors, because if you cut too close to the stitching, it might pull out while you're using it. So I'm just gonna cut my zipper maybe like a 1/2 inch out from the edge of the bag there. I mean, it's going to be inside the bag, like inside the lining. You're not even going to see it, but that way it doesn't get pulled out. And I'll go ahead and see if I can get my lighter to work. I need some more lighter fluid, I think. There we go. I'm just going to singe those edges so it doesn't unravel. Same thing over here. I don't know if it's dark down here, but I am in the basement and it is nighttime. I did not get this tutorial done as quick as I expected, so it's like 9 o'clock my time. So hopefully it's not too dark down here. So there's the zippers, and this, I will say, since the 2 printed exterior pieces are already sealed off, I can't pull that apart. You could trim that now if you want, and I'm going to just, I'm holding the lining separate, and I'm just going to trim right along pretty much the same seam allowance that I was already doing, just making sure that I'm not cutting any of that lining while I'm doing this. Just like that. Because that seam is done, we still have to do the lining though. That's open. So what you need to do is stick your hand up in there like a puppet, and I like to push down on the top of my bag and kind of cave it in, and you are going to pull this whole thing out through that bottom hole. And this is why it's important not to use super thick stuff, because it will make it very hard to birth. And you want to be careful when you're pulling, because you might rip out some of your seams, and that would not be good. So there we go. Here's the inside of your bag, and if you do the zipper cover, it is going to show on the inside, but I mean, the only way you're going to see it if you look inside the bag is if you like flip the zipper up. I don't think a lot of people do that. I would like to say that my oopsie bag that I gave to one of my 6-year-olds yesterday, she's already filled it with her little notebook that she likes to write in and some pencils and crayons, and it's the cutest little thing. She's been running around with her backpack all day. So it fits 6-year-olds perfectly, and it's good for all their cute little knickknacks. And this one is going to my other 6-year-old who hand picked out the Baby Yoda fabric from my stash. So I've got the corners pushed out, the bottom, all the edges are pushed out, and now what we're going to do to finish off this lining, you are going to, and you can sew if you want, you can use fabric glue. I've got this stuff I got at Joann's. It's yeah, stretchable fabric glue. I don't use fabric glue very often. I've used the E6000 before. I use that when I make hair bows. I've got some fabric tape here. Oh, here it is. Some tape. I feel like I had stuff open with this. Maybe I used the wrong one. I got this, it was on clearance at Joann's when I went forever ago, but it's just like a little kit of fabric glue and stuff. I thought it wouldn't hurt to have it here, so I'm gonna go ahead and tuck this all in. So pretty much we're making our own seam on the bottom now. And again, if you want to sew it, you can. I'm just gonna use the fabric tape, I think. So I've got my tape here. I'm gonna stick it on the back side so I can follow that, the seam there. That is the very bottom seam of the bag. See if I can get this on here. Okay, so now, get that all stuck on. You pull off the other side. Technically, this bag could be washable, like machine washable. I'm probably not going to. I don't know if this fabric tape holds up in the washer. Plus, I don't anticipate my kids are going to be too terribly messy with these, so we'll see how they hold up, I guess, because, you know, 6-year-olds aren't exactly the nicest with their stuff. So now, I'm just folding these two edges together and sticking that fabric tape on, just kind of closing up that bottom gap. not going to be perfect, but as long as it's closed, it's going to be on the bottom of the bag, so I'm not even really going to notice it. So that's what it looks like. And you know, if you sewed it, there'd be a little bit of a seam showing on the bottom of the bag, but again, who sticks their head inside bags just to look at them? So now we need to expose our zipper, because hopefully you remembered to leave your zipper open. I think I reminded you guys before we got to that step. So this tearaway stabilizer is not the most awesome, but I am getting low, so this is just what I used. So I'm just pulling away the stabilizer. If you used cutaway on the bag, it's not the end of the world. I've done it. You just take your seam ripper and you just rip the sorry, everything's getting kind of whitewashed with my lights here. You just rip right along the edge of the fabric there to cut the cutaway, and it's pretty easy. So not the end of the world if you used cutaway instead of tearaway. I will say I have plans for, this is my first in the hoop backpack. I have plans for some themed ones that will have stitching on them. I don't know how dense it will be yet. I haven't really sat down and tried to design any of them yet. I wanted to start with a plain one that could be customized a little easier, and then I would do the fun ones. But those ones, depending on how thick they are, you might need a couple layers of tearaway or cutaway, but I mean, just like this one, you could really make it work with either one. Okay, so I got it all off. My zipper is open, and now all we have to do is flip it right side out. Again, be careful as you're, I'm pushing, I'm not pulling. That way I'm not gonna rip any of the seams out, because I think I might cry if I ripped a seam out after all this. I don't know about you guys, but that's the worst. And then the bottom, same thing. I'm just gently pushing those corners out. I still had the tape on my my hardware, my connectors, so I'm taking that off while I'm pushing it out too, because you don't need that on anymore. I went through like a whole roll of tape for this. I was being a little generous with it. Okay, so now I'm gonna finish pushing it out. There we go. If you need to, sometimes I like to take, I've been using a pen like this and just using the end that doesn't have the cap on it to push stuff out. I used to use like a regular wood pencil with a pink eraser on the end, because that pink eraser gave it some nice friction when you put it against stuff. Okay, so everything is turned. Looks like I got some loose strings here I missed. There we go. So there is the front and the back and the two connectors, and then this O-ring on the top. And for my strap, like I said, if you really wanted to, like if it's not going to be worn, you could use fold over elastic, and what you would do is you would put it on the end of your D-ring there, just making sure that the shiny side is out when you see the shiny side there. The shiny side's out when you do this, and you would sew a little tab at the bottom that would just hold it in place, and then you'd come up and loop it through the ring, so just pop it through and back out, and then do the same thing on the bottom D-ring. You would sew it in place. Same thing with webbing. I didn't have 1-inch hardware, so I'm not using the webbing. These pre-made straps that I got at New Moon Stitches, I used on the other bag I made. This is the oopsie bag. It looks cute, but you can't see my oopsies. But it was bad enough that I wanted to go ahead and just redo the tutorial just so that nobody's confused. But so this is how my daughter's been wearing it. She's got the swivel clasps on the D-rings, and then I just looped it through that top one, and then she just puts one over each shoulder, and it fits her just about perfectly like this. And it's so cute seeing her walk around with it. She's got her little notebook and stuff in there that she writes. She likes to copy things that her teacher's writing during their lessons. So she's got all that in there. Honestly, I'm surprised she doesn't have makeup in there. She's our makeup loving little one. So that's how you would do one of the pre-made straps. I am going to make my own strap. I think I showed you guys earlier for this one, just because I don't have a pre-made blue strap for my daughter. So I cut 1.5 inch vinyl, and I just cut the whole length of the vinyl roll, so it's like 54 inches, I think. And again, this is from Glitterbug Fairy. This is just her matte vinyl. Oh my goodness, I've got thread everywhere. It's stuck to my pants. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna fold it in half, so the raw edges together like that. I'm gonna top stitch down one side, top stitch down the other side, and then I have these cute little swivel rings from New Moon Stitches. I'm just gonna pop it through there, sew it on, add my buckle, also from New Moon Stitches, but this is a 1-inch buckle, so it's gonna be a little bit big. It's okay. It's not terribly big. I'm gonna slide this on and then slide the other swivel on, and then it's a homemade strap. So I think that's everything. I hope that you guys enjoy this cute little pattern. It comes in sizes 5x7 all the way up to 9x14. The 5x7 size seriously would be perfect for like the 18-inch dolls, or just like a cute little, like if you want to put a key ring up here and put it on the back of your backpack or something, just something fun, little decoration for your bags. It is super cute, and even without the zipper cover, it's still adorable. I just thought that was a nice little embellishment. So I hope you guys love it. I know I do, and my 6-year-olds do. So if you guys have any questions, you can always ask them in the main group, or send me an email through the website, or leave a comment on YouTube. But honestly, I'm not on YouTube all that often, so I don't know if it's actually going to send me notices if anyone leaves me a comment. I've only done one video on there, so I'm not very proficient with YouTube. But thank you guys for watching my video. I hope it was good information for you, and I'll see you next time.